y'all, welcome back to my channel, Crafting with Cami. Today is a very exciting video. We are celebrating my friend Erin over at Crafty Concept with Erin. She just reached 20,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. So a bunch of us are collaborating and we are taking one of Erin's scrapbook pages and scraplifting it. This is the layout I'll be scraplifting today. I think it'll go perfect with my pictures. I actually have a coffee date my husband and I went on that I'll be scrapbooking today. So I am going to steal all aspects of her layout. I'm going to use a giant coffee cup like she did, and then those scalloped edges. These pictures were printed 3x4 with a white border. I'm just going to adhere my white paper down to the mat so it doesn't move on me. And the colors I'm thinking of bringing in, my shirt is green and my husband's coat is green, and then I'm wearing a silver vest and he has a white or a gray sweatshirt on. So I'm thinking of bringing in the pine, some gray. So I cut my pine paper down to 6 inches by 12. And then for the scalloped borders, I actually made that on my Cricut. It did get a little damaged here on that right-hand side, but we'll disguise that. So I cut this out on my Cricut, and I'm just going to cut across the top and the bottom, keeping just those scalloped edges. I got those cut down, and I can use this scalloped edge for another project, so I'm just going to set that aside. I'm just going to clean up this edge a little bit here. And I can actually use this other one as a template. They're the exact same. So I'm just going to lay this one across it. And then I can just cut around the one to clean up the other's edge. We'll get those laid down here. And since that one edge has the straight edge, we'll go ahead and butt that all the way up against that right-hand side of the layout. And we'll go ahead and bring my photos back in. So Erin had her photos over here. She had a 4x4 photo, but I have two 4x3s, so we'll just make that work. She had a big coffee cup embellishment over here on the left, so I cut one out of my Cricut, and it comes with this outline, and then it comes with all of the pieces that fill it in. So I actually cut it out 3 times in 3 different colors. So I have the black outline, and then I was thinking of bringing in the white for the lid. So I have white cardstock. And then it has this little inside piece. I have it in white, but I'm actually thinking of switching that out for the black as well, give it a little more contrast. And then I have the black for that little hole. Drinking hole. For the cup holder, I am thinking of bringing in that sage color again. That's the same color I did for the scalloped edge. And then for the cup, I have this mink paper. I'm thinking of putting it behind, gluing everything down on it, and then I can just use my micro tip scissors and cut around that. All right, I got that cup adhered to the mink cardstock. I love that I can just piece it all together now and glue it right on. This is what I have for my title. Don't mind my gluey mess going on here. I cut the I Like My With You in pine, and then coffee is cut in that sage paper, and that'll go right down there. I am bringing in my Versamat, the foam side of it, and some scratch paper. I am going to be adding a little bit of shading to the coffee cup lid. I'm bringing in my mink ink. That's the same color we used for the coffee cup. I'm just going to use one of my little foam pads. I store them in these little Ziploc baggies, and then I label them by the ink color. I'm just going around the edges. I'm trying to stick close to the edge. On the corners, I'll bring it in a little further. It is hard to see that mink color, so I do lay it down on my scratch paper just to see how dark I'm getting that color. And then just shading a little more on those edges. And I'll do the same with this, keeping it thicker on those corners and then closer to the edges on the straight parts. And that is looking good. I'll set my ink aside, bring that coffee cup back in. Yes, I like how that is looking. It just adds that extra shading, gives it a little more dimension. We'll go ahead and get those adhered. I'm just going to put the tape directly onto the mink cardstock since I have a lot of those little pieces. I'm using my pickup tool. These are wax pencils. They work so good to pick up those tiny little pieces or glitter gems or anything like that. All right, and that is looking good. Let's go ahead and bring our layout back in. All right, so we'll bring that coffee cup back in and then my photos. And Erin has zip strips going across the top and bottom where these scalloped edges start. So I am thinking of making my own zip strips. So I have this coffee themed stamp set, very old, it's just from my stash. And there's a line of coffee beans. I'm thinking about bringing in some cardstock and then stamping those coffee beans across it. I'm testing out the mink colored cardstock, and I do like bringing in a little more of that mink. Let's bring our title back in, see how that's going to look. And I do like that. I cut that down to a 1/2 inch. I'm bringing in my mocha ink for the espresso beans. We'll get that on a block. And I'm going to start stamping off the mink cardstock. I want it to look like a continuous line. So just by stamping that first bean off a little bit. And then with the end of that strip, the same thing. I just let it go off the edge. So we'll do the same thing with the second strip. Just stamping all the way across. And there we go, we got those stamped. Let's bring our layout back in. And I like how this is looking. Bring my photos back in once again. I am wanting to bring in more mocha ink. So I'm bringing in that foam dabber again, and I'm just going around the edges of the scalloped border. It just finishes it off a little bit. It makes it pop more off that white background, and it's bringing in some of that mocha. I'm playing with the idea of adding mocha to the strip with the espresso beans, but I decide not to add any there. Let's go ahead and start getting these papers adhered. Starting with that pine. We'll line this up at about 9 inches. And then the scalloped edge, we'll go ahead and adhere some tape to that. And we're just going to line that directly up with that. We're not going to tuck it under. We're just going to start it right at that 9 inches as well. Get the second one adhered. And then for those strips, we're just going to put those directly onto the sage cardstock. It'll hide that where the scallop starts on the left. It'll hide that little section. And actually I want this turned around. Some of those espresso beans are more angled upward, so I don't want it to look like it's falling off the page. Get some tape on this strip. Bringing my title back in and the photos once again. Erin does have an embellishment cluster here and then also up in the right-hand side. Kita wanted to come in and say hi. She's looking over all my pictures. Am I doing good? I am going to bring in some mist cardstock. I need to break up all of this black and green. So this mist should bring out some more of that gray color and a little bit of blue. I'm bringing in my fancy doilies. I have the small one and the large one. I'm just testing out with the die cut to see how many I should cut, what sizes I want to use. And this is what I'm thinking at first. So I need 2 of the small ones, one for the center up here, and then one for that bottom corner. I got those cut. And I'm just playing around with that a little bit more. At first I want the big one up top, but now I'm actually thinking maybe I want that down at the bottom to balance out that coffee cup. I'm thinking right about here, we'll just swoosh these out of the way. And bring in that centerpiece. I've got all of these adhered. For this little one, I'm thinking I want it kind of off to the right-hand side more, and then I can build that embellishment cluster going to the left of that little doily. We'll go ahead and get that adhered right about here. And then I am going to bring in my tags and tabs thin cuts. I have this little tab that I'm thinking up above this photo. I have this little book from my stash. It has little sentiments or words on them, so I'm just going through those. There's the ones with the white, but then there's also the ones with the black background. I went with the black just to bring in more from the title, and then I am going to bring in some more of that mink ink. The white just didn't pop off enough. Since I have the white frame around my photo, I felt like it needed a little bit of contrast, so I'm just flicking some of my mink ink around the edges and then kind of in the center where the photo meets up with it. This little sticker says, "Stay simple." I just decided to keep it simple. We'll try that back behind. And actually, I think I want it further over to the right over that doily. I'm thinking there's a lot of blank space over this left-hand doily, so I'm thinking about bringing in a bigger cup again, another one of those, but instead I decided just to move this mug down. I am bringing in my sprigs and leaves die cuts. I cut some in pine and then a few in the sage as well. While I'm playing with these leaves, please take time to hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel, and like the video if you're liking what you're seeing. I will have the playlist for this collaboration linked below. Be sure to go check out everybody else's videos and how they made one of Erin's layouts their own. I'm just going to add a few more sprigs here, and I just need to lift that corner up. We'll go ahead and bring Erin's layout back in. And I'm liking how this turned out. I added a few glitter gems to the embellishments. I will have still shots of this layout over on my Instagram. That is also linked in the description box if you're not already following me over there. I hope you enjoyed this layout. I hope it brought you inspiration. And until next time, live a life worth scrapping. Bye, guys.